I think we're seeing a lot of these birth pangs that Jesus spoke of, but we're also seeing this alignment of Russia, Iran, Turkey, and other countries forming this alliance against Israel.
The world has been shocked by the unprecedented happenings in Israel. Why did Christians react in such a surprising way? How would this affect the dialogue between faiths? Does this indicate escalating tensions? Find out what's really going on behind the scenes of the latest chaos that has everyone talking. Concern has been stoked on a national as well as an international scale in response to the recent uptick in attacks against Christian communities in Israel. The number of incidents involving harassment, vandalism, and targeted attacks against Christian individuals and organizations has been on the rise, which has prompted anxiety among members of the international community. Christian communities have long been formed in a variety of places around Israel, and throughout history, they have historically coexisted with communities belonging to other religious traditions. These interfaith connections have been put under strain as a result of the recent surge of violence, which has given rise to fears of destabilization. The act of desecration that has been committed against Christian places of worship, such as churches and monasteries, has served to heighten the uneasiness felt by Christians. These alarming acts have prompted officials from other countries and organizations that work to protect human rights to speak out against them and urge the government of Israel to take prompt and decisive action to address the problem. They emphasize how important it is to protect the fundamental right to religious freedom and guarantee the safety of all citizens regardless of their religious beliefs. As the level of violence has increased, local Christian leaders have felt compelled to issue appeals for solidarity and fortitude, as well as to encourage dialogue and peaceful coexistence among all faith communities. As investigations into the reasons behind the attacks continue, there is a collective optimism for a peaceful conclusion and the restoration of amicable ties among Israel's many religious groups. This hope comes despite the fact that the investigations are still ongoing. The Pope's legate to the Holy Land has expressed concern that Benjamin Netanyahu's conservative government has worsened conditions for Christians in the land where Christianity was born. Anti-Christian violence looks to be on the rise as the Israeli settler movement, encouraged by government friends, seizes the opportunity to expand its business in the contentious city. Christians, however, claim that authorities don't do enough to safeguard their holy sites from discriminatory violence. A regional confrontation broke out last week when an Israeli police raid on the sacred al-Aqsa mosque compound sparked indignation among Muslims. In the densely populated Old City, a tension-filled area captured by the Israeli Authority in 1967, hostility towards minority Christians is nothing new. But today, Netanyahu's far-right government includes settlement leaders in prominent posts, such as Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich and National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir, who have convictions dating back to 2007 for incitement of anti-Arab hatred and support for a Jewish militancy group. Church leaders are concerned that initiatives like the government's plan to create a national park on the Mount of Olives pose a threat to the Christian presence in the Holy City because of the influence they have given to Israeli settlers seeking to entrench Jewish control of the occupied West Bank and East Jerusalem. The Palestinians want their future state's capital to be in East Jerusalem. Israel's population is comprised of people from a wide variety of ethnic and religious backgrounds. The majority of the population, which accounts for about 74% of the total, identifies as Jewish, which has strong roots in the cultural, religious, and historical past of the nation. This Jewish demography spans a vast spectrum of traditions, beliefs, and practices, which creates a rich mosaic of religion within the country as a whole. In addition to its large Jewish population, Israel is also home to a sizable Muslim population, which accounts for around 18% of the country's total population. Muslims in Israel come from a diverse range of ethnic backgrounds and sects, which contribute to the multicultural makeup of the country. Their rituals and observances are an essential part of the cultural landscape of the nation. Christianity is practiced by around 2% of Israel's population, making it a minority religion in the country, but nevertheless an important one. These Christians, who come from a variety of religions, contribute to the cultural and religious diversity that this country is known for. While simultaneously coexisting within the larger societal framework, they uphold the beliefs and traditions that are important to them. This unique mix of Jewish, Muslim, and Christian communities each with its own set of distinct traditions and values, contributes to Israel's active social dynamics. Each of these communities has its own set of traditions and values. These communities are able to develop and interact with one another as a result of the nation's dedication to religious freedom and tolerance, which helps to create a unique tapestry of cultural cohesion in the midst of diversity. Israel is a country that is home to a wide variety of religious beliefs and practices, some of which date back centuries, while others are more modern. Jerusalem, a city that is honored equally by Christians, Jews, and Muslims, is located at the center of this intricately woven tapestry. The historical and spiritual significance of each faith is carved into the city's walls and streets, which creates a distinct ambiance that attracts pilgrims and seekers from all over the world. Israel is where Judaism first took root, which makes sense given its status as the oldest monotheistic religion. Numerous Jewish worshippers flock to the Western Wall in order to pay their respects to the holy stones that make up this ancient structure, since it is a permanent monument to the city's history. The Christian religion also finds a safe haven in the region, as seen by the presence of landmarks like the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, which honor the crucifixion and resurrection of Jesus Christ. The calming sound of the call to prayer can be heard resonating from minarets located all over the landscape, and the presence of Islam can be seen at the al-Aqsa mosque. Israel fosters a spirit of tolerance by welcoming people of many different faiths and denominations, in addition to the major religions already present there. In Haifa, Baha'is tend to their gorgeous gardens, while in the country's northern regions, Druze people practice their own unique religion and retain their traditions. This patchwork of different religions interacts with one another, producing a one-of-a-kind social fabric in which conversation and peaceful cohabitation thrive. Israel is a living example of the complex interaction of many religions, in spite of the periodic difficulties that arise there. It is a location where believers and academics, whether in search of spiritual fulfillment or historical understanding, find themselves immersed in a theological tapestry that is diverse and active. Conflicts between Christians and Jews have a long and illustrious history, and they are the product of a complicated interaction of religious, social, and political forces. Theological disagreements, the struggle for scarce resources, and shifting power structures in society were frequently the root causes of these wars. One of the first examples can be traced back to the time when the Roman Empire was in existence. At that time, persecution of both Jews and Christians was commonplace, since tensions had arisen as a result of Christians' growing separation from Judaism. During the Middle Ages, there was a string of pogroms and expulsions, during which Jews were subjected to violence and persecution all over Europe. The Crusades, which were initiated with the intention of recovering the Holy Land, made the conflict more intense. Along their journey toward their intended targets, the Crusaders also carried out attacks against Jewish villages. During the Reconquista, Jews faced the prospect of being converted without their will or being expelled from Spain due to the activities of the Spanish Inquisition. Several centuries later, allegations of blood libel and the infamous Dreyfus affair in France were fueled by anti-Semitic attitudes, illustrating the persistence of prejudices to this day. 6 million Jewish people were exterminated as a direct result of the systematic genocide carried out by the Nazi regime during the Holocaust, making it the most tragic event in human history. Despite the fact that the Second Vatican Council was held in the 20th century with the intention of improving Christian-Jewish relations, difficulties still exist. Today, as cultures continue to cope with the legacy of past conflicts and work toward fostering a future that is more tolerant and harmonious, attempts are still being made for conversation and understanding. Recent attacks carried out by Jewish extremists against Christians have caused shock and anxiety in communities all across the world, both locally and internationally. These upsetting occurrences, which have been characterized by acts of violence and destruction, have prompted issues about the tolerance of other religions and the ability to cohabit. These assaults have taken place in a number of different locales, and their targets have included places of Christian worship, cultural landmarks, and even individuals. As a result of the attacks, many Christians have the impression that they are vulnerable and are afraid for their safety. Although the reasons behind these attacks are still being investigated, some observers believe that tension stemming from religious and geopolitical considerations may have contributed. These acts of violence have been condemned by world leaders and religious authorities who have emphasized the need for religious unity and peaceful coexistence. On numerous social and political forums, people of all religions have been urged to work together and show more tolerance toward one another. Law enforcement agencies have increased their presence in the regions that have been impacted and have begun investigations in an effort to bring those responsible for the issue to justice. Efforts are now being made to address the situation. Interfaith talks and activities are also being organized by local communities in an effort to foster greater understanding and reconciliation. The recent attacks serve as a clear reminder of the necessity of continuing efforts to promote tolerance, respect, and discussion among various religious groups. This is necessary to prevent future escalation and to ensure that all members of society can live in harmony. The recent introduction of an anti-Christian measure in the Israeli Knesset has sparked a furious international outcry, which has raised worries about the freedom of religion and tolerance for different faiths. The measure, in the event that it is passed, has the potential to place limits on the religious activities and institutions of Christians, which has prompted considerable outrage from a variety of sources. It has been brought to the attention of world leaders and organizations that there may be an infringement on religious freedom and that Israel's reputation as a society that values diversity and inclusion may be suffering as a result. As a result of pressure exerted by other governments, diplomatic channels have been opened in an effort to convince Israeli authorities to rethink the bill and respect the ideals of religious harmony. The heads of congregations belonging to a variety of faiths have come together to voice their opposition to the law and stress the significance of recognizing and safeguarding the rights of religious communities that are in the minority. The proliferation of interfaith dialogues and acts of solidarity around the world is evidence of a widespread commitment to the maintenance of harmony and understanding among people who adhere to a variety of religious traditions. The ongoing debate, which is taking place both within Israel and on the world stage, has brought to light the precarious balancing act that must be maintained in order to protect Israel's national identity while still protecting the fundamental human right to religious freedom. The resolution of this debate will surely have far-reaching repercussions, which will shape Israel's relations with its foreign allies and highlight the necessity of taking a nuanced approach to matters of religion and state. Benjamin Netanyahu and other important figures initially supported the bill. Their public endorsement showed unity and presented the law as a hopeful solution to a critical issue. Given his influence and political strategy experience, Netanyahu's role was important. As the bill's details and effects became obvious, supporters reconsidered. Experts and the public voiced concerns and reevaluated their positions. Netanyahu's pragmatic attitude appeared to heed the rising discontent and withdraw his support. His decision caused other initial backers to withdraw. These leaders said they needed additional investigation, public conversation, and possibly revisions before making such a major legislative change. The spectacle showed how leaders are influenced by informed public opinion and the difficult balance between political expediency and responsible governance. Despite initial optimism, the bill now faces a difficult parliamentary process as it navigates the intricate interplay of opinions and interests that create modern policymaking. Attacks on the Christian community during the King of Kings ministry event in Jerusalem marred the peaceful gathering. These attacks, targeting Christians attending the celebration, have sparked worries about religious tolerance and safety in the ancient city. Many Christian icons have been vandalized, and guests have been threatened verbally, according to local officials. The King of Kings ministry event's togetherness and celebration have been disrupted by these incidences, depressing participants and organizers. Religious groups, community leaders, and politicians have condemned the attacks. Increased security and a comprehensive examination of these acts of hatred have grown. The international community has supported the affected Christians and stressed religious freedom and peaceful cooperation. Despite these problems, the King of Kings ministry event continues with increased security, demonstrating the Christian community's resilience and commitment to promoting their faith in a respectful and understanding setting. The rising onslaught of Christian-Jewish tensions has harmed peace efforts and cast a shadow over the fragile harmony that had begun to take root. These attacks, sometimes fueled by historical grudges and radical ideologies, have started a cycle of violence that threatens to erase progress in understanding and tolerance. Recent religious site vandalism, hate speech, and physical assaults have deepened hostility between the two populations. Fear and suspicion are eroding the bridges built to promote mutual respect, tearing coexistence apart. Local leaders and interfaith organizations who worked hard to create a discussion and collaboration platform now face an uphill battle. To rebuild trust, we must work together and denounce those who exploit divisions. Hope remains in these difficult situations. Christian and Jewish beliefs have been shared for millennia, and grassroots peace and unification organizations are growing. The wish for peaceful cohabitation remains, reminding us that bridges of understanding may be restored even when reconciliation is difficult. Thanks for watching. For more, kindly subscribe to our channel.